What happens when the money of the dead outlives the memory of their names?
Oh man, that is a heavy question to start with.
Right. But picture a damp, lime-scented cellar in Riehen, Switzerland. The year is 2026.
Okay.
A woman stands in the dim light, and she's staring at a heavy oak chest. She just, unearthed it from beneath this dusty oilcloth.
Right, Lena.
Yeah. She holds a single key, and when she turns that key, the quiet, dry click of the lock doesn't just open a box.
It definitely does not.
No, it releases an 80-year-old ghost that is about to tear a multi-million-dollar corporate empire straight down to its foundations.
It's just such a powerful image.
So welcome back to part 6 of our deep dive into the extraordinary novel Fünf Eide by Dr. Pooyan Ghamari.
If you've been following along, you know we left off last time at a massive turning point.
Yeah, the creation of the mysterious K reserve.
Right, and the striking of that fourth oath on the wooden splinter.
The stakes in the modern-day timeline had reached, an absolute fever pitch at that point.
Oh, totally. We established what the K reserve functions as today, this impenetrable, hidden financial buffer shielding the family's holding company.
Exactly. But the fundamental questions of why it was created and, how it was legally constructed, those were still locked away.
Until now.
Right. And unlocking those questions is our mission for today's discussion. We are finally stripping back the layers to uncover the World War II era origins of this reserve.
Dr. Pooyan Ghamari takes us straight into that cellar with Lena Darvishi.
Yeah, she using the key Dariush gave her to open her mother Clara's chest. And the narrative tension here is incredibly thick.
It really is. And, she doesn't find some cinematic treasure chest full of gold bars or anything.
No, not at all. The contents are startlingly bureaucratic.
3 gray binders,
Yeah.
a narrow leather case,
Mm-hmm.
and a sealed envelope made of heavy brown wrapping paper. And it has this very specific label.
Depot Löwy Cie, 1938 to 1946.
Right. It is a masterclass in how mundane objects can carry devastating historical weight.
Absolutely. And it's what she finds inside that leather case that really sets the tone.
Oh, the pen and the watch.
Yeah, a broken fountain pen, a pocket watch completely missing its glass face, and a tiny note from 1944.
Written in the handwriting of her grandfather, Anton Rossi.
Right. The note just lists an account number, a date, and one single sentence.
I remember reading this part.
He who keeps the money, while the owner cannot speak, becomes the judge of his return.
It's a profoundly chilling admission.
It really is.
It completely frames the entire moral dilemma of the wealth they've been sitting on.
But hold on. I have to push back on Clara's psychology here.
Okay, go for it.
Because it's driving me crazy. Clara, Lena's mother, kept this chest hidden in her basement for 50 years.
Yeah, a long time.
Right. If she knew the money was tainted and she felt this immense guilt, why didn't she just destroy the documents when she became an adult?
That's a fair question.
Why torture herself by keeping the literal evidence of her family's original sin right under her feet?
Well, I think it's the paralysis of passive complicity.
Passive complicity. Okay, what do you mean?
Destroying the documents would require an active choice to commit a cover-up.
Ah.
It would make her a direct participant in the crime of erasing the past. And I think she just couldn't stomach that act of guilt.
Okay, I can see that. But handing them over.
Handing the documents over to the authorities meant completely obliterating the foundation of her family's holding company.
Right, which destroys everything.
Exactly. And potentially ruining the lives of all the employees who depended on it.
Wow.
So she chose a third, impossible path. Preservation without action.
Okay, I think of it like storing a highly radioactive isotope in a lead box in your basement.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
If you tell yourself, well, it's out of sight, it's secure, I haven't released it into the water supply.
Right.
But just because it's hidden in the dark doesn't mean it isn't quietly and visibly radiating.
Mm-hmm.
It's poisoning the foundation of your house for half a century.
And just like radiation, that toxicity eventually leaks upstairs.
Yeah.
It infected how Clara lived her life, how she raised her daughter, and it ultimately warped to the corporate strategy of the entire holding company decades later.
But the luxury of passive complicity is officially over for Lena.
Because of the text.
Exactly. As she is staring at this radioactive discovery, her phone vibrates. It's a message from her lawyer, Nora Amin, delivering a ticking clock.
The opposition to the modern corporate battle is demanding that the legal freeze on the K reserve be lifted by noon the next day.
Which is so soon.
Very soon. And if Lena doesn't provide concrete, physical evidence to justify the freeze, the court will just release the funds.
So Lena looks at that brown envelope and she realizes she is holding the exact weapon she needs.
Right.
But firing it means blowing up her own family.
Which forces the narrative to finally open that brown envelope and pull us back in time.
Yes, let's go there.
Dr. Pooyan Ghamari transports us to November 1938.
The atmosphere is completely different.
Totally. We're at the freight station in Basel.
It is freezing, rain is coming down in diagonal sheets. Anton Rossi is waiting at the tracks to meet a 42-year-old woman named Miriam Löwy.
And she's the daughter of a Frankfurt textile chemist, right?
Yeah, a guy who had done business with Anton's workshop for 20 years.
Okay.
So Miriam steps off a third-class train car, clutching a heavy suitcase like her life depends on it.
Because it does.
It literally does. And she tells Anton that the Swiss police stamped her passport with a large red J.
Identifying her as Jewish.
Yeah.
We have to pause and examine the historical mechanics at play here. This isn't just a detail in the story.
Right.
It's a reflection of a massive systemic policy. Switzerland was anxious about being overrun by refugees, so they actually requested that German authorities mark the passports of Jewish citizens.
That is just so wild to me.
It allowed Swiss border guards to easily identify them and enforce strict entry policies.
Wait, I thought Switzerland was famously neutral during the war. How does turning away refugees align with neutrality?
Well, the concept of neutrality was highly selective
and deeply economic. The policy essentially dictated that the borders were closed to anyone who couldn't prove they had substantial financial means to support themselves.
So you couldn't just seek asylum.
No, you had to buy your temporary safety.
Which explains that heavy suitcase she was carrying.
Exactly.
It wasn't full of clothes or family photos. It was packed with liquidated securities, bank confirmations, and cash.
3 generations of the Löwy family's wealth.
And Miriam tells Anton outright that her father is already in a concentration camp. She says, "I am only here as long as my money vouches for me."
Her survival is entirely commodified.
Yeah.
The moment the capital is gone, her right to exist within Swiss borders just vanishes.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because this commodified survival leads directly to a pivotal bank meeting in May of 1940.
Right, because she can't hold on to that suitcase forever.
No. Miriam is trapped in a boarding house in Riehen. She's unable to work or move freely, so Anton goes to a bank on the Basel Market Square.
To meet with Director von der Meuhl.
Yeah, to find a way to secure her assets. And this is where we see the famous Swiss banking secrecy laws of 1934 put to the test.
Yes.
Director von der Meuhl lays out a very cold, bureaucratic reality. Even with secrecy laws, keeping the account under Miriam's own name is a massive liability.
But wait, wasn't the 1934 Secrecy Act literally designed to protect people like Miriam? How could it be a liability?
On paper, yes. It made it a criminal offense for a banker to reveal client information.
Right.
However, the German authorities were aggressive. They were tracking currency flows and applying intense diplomatic and economic pressure.
Oh, I see.
Von der Meuhl explains that if the Gestapo suspects the funds are there and applies enough leverage, the money could be seized.
And Miriam would lose her only leverage to stay in the country.
Exactly. The bank's solution to protect the asset, and frankly to protect the bank from German scrutiny, is obfuscation.
So they create a nameless sub-account.
Yes.
A trust account hidden entirely beneath the umbrella of Anton Rossi's company, Rossi Metallwerk.
So to anyone looking at the ledgers, it just looks like routine Swiss industrial assets.
But von der Meuhl insists on a specific clause for the bank's protection in case the war destabilizes the region.
This is the crucial part.
If, within 10 years after the end of the war, no authorized heir claims the account, the entire position defaults to the trustee.
Meaning Anton.
Right, to cover any open expenses.
It's an administrative exit strategy for the bank, but it fundamentally corrupts the dynamic between Anton and Miriam.
It really does. Anton brings the carbon copy of this contract back to Miriam's boarding house, and she instantly sees the trap.
She's smart. She sees right through it.
She says, "It doesn't have my name on it." Anton promises it's solely for her protection, and then she delivers a line that just gutted me.
Well, is it?
And if I can no longer ask, who owns my name then?
Wow. Yes, she recognizes that a legal structure based entirely on a man's verbal promise only serves the man holding the paperwork.
Exactly.
Her entire existence is now at his mercy.
And that mercy gets tested in the darkest way possible 2 years later. Let's jump to October 1942.
Things get so much worse here.
The Rossi metalwork factory has completely transformed. They aren't making parts for looms and civilian trains anymore.
No, the factory floor is deafening. They're stamping out precision valves and detonator parts.
This is a brilliant integration of macroeconomic history by Dr. Pooyan Ghamari.
It really is. Switzerland was completely landlocked and surrounded by Axis powers.
Right.
To keep their economy alive and get vital resources like coal and steel, Swiss industries had to operate under something called clearing balances with Germany.
Can you explain how a clearing balance actually functioned in this context? Because that sounds like a very polite term for something very dark.
It was essentially a centralized barter system. It was designed to bypass the need for foreign currency, which was scarce.
Okay, so a trade-off.
Germany would supply raw materials, like the steel Anton needed, but Switzerland had to balance that ledger by exporting manufactured goods back to Germany.
Got it.
An official from Bern practically tells Anton, "We don't care what the parts are used for, just meet the export quota so the Reich doesn't freeze our coal shipments for the winter."
So Anton is forced to build detonator parts to keep his factory running.
Yes.
But the betrayal goes so much deeper than just the manufacturing. Miriam has been secretly working as Anton's accountant, hidden away in a back office.
Because she needs something to do, right?
Yeah, and she's looking at the ledgers, and she discovers that her hidden trust money, her literal survival fund, is being used to pre-finance Anton's steel purchases.
Oh, the horrifying irony of that mechanism.
Yeah.
Her money is being used as collateral to buy the steel to build the components for the very regime that is actively hunting her family.
When she confronts him, Anton's psychological rationalization is intense.
He really twists it, doesn't he?
He tells her, if we don't get steel, the factory stops. If the factory stops, I lose my business. If I lose my business, I can't declare you as an essential worker. You'll be at the border tomorrow.
He has convinced himself that his self-interest is actually an act of altruism.
Yes, that's exactly it.
He's looking at the systemic trap they are in and deciding that his economic survival is the only vehicle for her physical survival.
But Miriam refuses to let him hide behind that excuse. She looks him in the eye and says, no, you save your factory, and you use my life as justification.
It's a devastating indictment.
It really is. Anton tries to formulate an argument, but he realizes every single word out of his mouth would just be an alibi.
And tragically, history cuts the argument short.
The very next night, Miriam is arrested on the street trying to deliver forged food stamps to another refugee family.
It happened so fast.
By the time Anton navigates the bureaucracy and gets to police headquarters the next morning, her transport is already gone. She is deported to Riga.
Just awful. But that delusion Anton held on to, the idea that he was keeping the factory running to save her,
Yeah.
that shatters completely once the war ends. Because now he has to make a choice about the money she left behind.
Right. We jump to June 1946. The horrors of the camps are fully known. Miriam is listed by the Red Cross as missing, presumed dead. Anton is sitting in his office weeping over that 1940 trust contract. His 14-year-old daughter, Clara, walks in.
Lena's mother.
Yes. She sees a folder marked Depot Louis, do not liquidate, and asks who Miriam is.
Anton looks at his daughter's innocence and her immense pride in the family business, and he makes a conscious choice to lie.
He does.
He tells her Miriam was just a friend. They owe something to.
But Clara, even at 14, possesses this terrifying moral clarity. She picks up the family heirloom from the desk.
The wooden splinter with the 4 notches.
Exactly. She touches the wood and tells her father if Miriam's family is gone, keeping the money will turn it into a curse.
She instinctively grasps the corrosive nature of stolen wealth.
But Anton takes the splinter from her hand. He tells her, we aren't keeping it. We are managing it. We will keep it safe until someone with the right to ask comes along.
But the narrator explicitly tells us Anton knows he is lying.
Yes. He transfers the Louis funds into a silent internal reserve. And that is the exact genesis of the modern K reserve.
What's vital to understand here is the systemic design of post-war banking.
Okay, tell me about that.
Anton didn't need to act like a cartoon villain twirling his mustache to steal this money. He just had to rely on the bureaucratic architecture of the time.
How exactly did that bureaucracy work? I mean, if a survivor from the Louis family showed up in Basel in 1947, couldn't they just claim the funds?
Legally, no. The system was inadvertently, or perhaps intentionally, designed to be an impenetrable fortress.
An impenetrable fortress?
First, the burden of proof was entirely on the victims. A claimant had to produce a death certificate for the original account holder.
How do you get a death certificate from an extermination camp in Riga?
Exactly. It was physically impossible.
Yes.
Second, because of the 1934 secrecy laws and the nameless sub-account Anton created, the bank wouldn't even acknowledge the money existed unless the claimant knew the exact account number and the trustee's name.
That's incredibly cruel.
Time worked exclusively for the custodians.
So, put yourself in Lena's shoes for a second. It's 2026. You are sitting in a district court in Basel. You hold a piece of paper that proves your family's entire comfortable lifestyle, the prestige of your holding company, is built on the ashes of a murdered woman's survival fund.
It's a lot to carry.
Could you bankrupt your own family to right an 80-year-old wrong?
That is the exact crucible Lena faces in the courtroom.
Right.
Across the aisle, the holding company's lawyer is making a very polished, pragmatic argument to the judge.
He says they need to release this dormant K reserve to secure a restructure that will save 150 jobs at Novolix.
He points out that all legal protection periods have expired and there are no living heirs. It framed as a victimless administrative move.
But Lena refuses to let the lie continue. Before her own lawyer can stop her, she stands up.
This part is so good.
She tells the judge, "There are no claimants because my family and these banks spent 80 years making sure no one could find the documents." And then she drops the bomb. She places the original 1940 trust contract and the 1946 transfer statements right on the judge's desk.
She completely torpedoes the transaction.
The judge reads the documents in total silence, and then he slams the gavel down.
The K reserve is legally frozen, pending a massive historical investigation.
She chose absolute, undeniable truth over the family's legacy.
And the reaction from Victor Falk, the corporate leader whose entire strategy Lena just burned to the ground, is incredible.
You'd expect him to be screaming at her in the hallway?
Totally.
Hmm?
Instead, they walk outside into the bright spring sunshine. Victor is pale. He pulls out a cigarette, lights it, exhales into the blue sky, and says to her, "Maybe I was waiting for you to have the courage I never had."
That vulnerability reveals so much about the invisible cages we build for ourselves.
Victor was profoundly relieved. Think about his position.
Yeah, as a CEO.
As a corporate leader, he was contractually and systemically obligated to protect the holding, to argue for the merger, to prioritize modern jobs over an 80-year-old moral debt. He was a prisoner of his own role.
He couldn't break the machine from the inside without violating his fiduciary duties.
Exactly.
He secretly needed Lena to play the role of the disruptor. He needed her to shatter the system he was forced to defend.
Which brings us to the core realization of this entire timeline. Unclaimed wealth is never truly neutral.
No, it's not.
There's this pervasive myth that dormant accounts just sit quietly in vaults, collecting dust, hurting no one.
But Dr. Pooyan Ghamari illustrates that when money loses its name, it actively corrupts.
It reshapes the morality of the institutions that absorb it.
It poisoned Anton's worldview, it forced Clara into a half-century of silent guilt, and it trapped Victor in a corporate cage.
But just as Lena is standing on those courthouse steps, watching Victor walk away, breathing a sigh of relief.
Her phone rings.
Of course it does.
It is Mara Zing. Mara tells Lena that her mother, Ruth Zing, heard about the court decision. And Ruth says it is finally time they talk about the fifth notch.
The fifth oath. The final mark on the wooden splinter.
And that is exactly where we will pick up in Part 7. We are going to dive headfirst into the 1960s.
We'll be exploring the heartbreaking institutionalization of Ruth Zing.
And uncovering how the modern Swiss welfare finance nexus was forged in the shadows of this exact same family secret. You absolutely will not want to miss it.
It is going to completely recontextualize everything we thought we knew about the family's philanthropy.
Until then, I want to leave you with one final thought. Think about your own digital footprint today.
Oh, that's an interesting parallel.
We live in an era of cryptocurrencies, encrypted hardware wallets, and anonymous ledgers. Millions of dollars in digital wealth are currently sitting in ghost wallets, completely inaccessible because the owners passed away without sharing a seed phrase.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
We've seen what happened to Miriam Löwy's hidden funds in the 20th century. What happens to our modern financial ecosystem when billions in digital ghost wealth outlive the memory of our names?
Wow.
Does it just sit dormant on the blockchain, or will it find a new way to corrupt the institutions of the future? Keep diving deep.
Yeah.